Hello, good day everyone. We are now in topic 3.2 of our basic calculus subject, which talks about continuity on an interval. The competencies. At the end of this session, you are expected to illustrate continuity of a function on an interval and determine whether a function is continuous on an interval. A function can be continuous on an interval. This simply means that it is continuous at every point on an interval. Equivalently, if we are able to draw the entire graph of the function on an interval without lifting our tracing pen or without being interrupted by a hole in the middle of the graph, then we can say that the function is continuous on that interval. We are to begin our discussion with these two concepts, which are very important in determining whether a function is continuous at the endpoints of the closed intervals. So we have the one-sided continuity, that a function f is said to be continuous from the left at x equals c if f of c is equal to the limit of f of x as x approaches c from the left. So from the left man, so from the left pod. And then a function f is said to be continuous from the right at x equals c if f of c is equal to the limit of f of x as x approaches c from the right. Then we have also known facts on continuities of functions on intervals. We have polynomial functions are continuous everywhere. So if the given is polynomial, then it is continuous everywhere. Next, anong ma-continuous everywhere man tungod kay there's no possibility nga ang function ma-undefined kung atong i-substitute o usa ka number. Kay polynomial man siya, so why possibility nga mahimo siya nga defined, so therefore it is continuous everywhere. Then we have the absolute value of value function f of x is equal to the absolute value of x is also continuous everywhere, the same as sa polynomial. Okay, next is rational functions are continuous on their respective domains. Kadturang nasa domain, meaning kadtong mga values nga dili makapahimo sa denominator of the function 0. Kaya og kadto ng 0 ang imong value sa denominator, dili man siya na sa domain. Ang x diha dili value sa domain, wa sa domain nimo. Then the square root function f of x equals square root of x is continuous on the set on an interval, open interval from the right from 0 to positive infinity, because ang function sa square root kay 2 man imong index, meaning ang imong radicand should be positive. Kaya og negative imong radicand, mahimo siyang undefined, so ma-discontinuous siya at a certain point. So continuous or siya kung ang imong interval gikan sa 0 to positive infinity, where 0 is included or part of the domain. Okay, so let us now proceed to our first example. Consider the graph of the function f given below. So let us try to determine if the function f is continuous on the following intervals. So we have the first one, open interval from -1 to 1. So what are we going to do is ato ang i-trace from the right side of x equals c padong sa left to right, from the left side of x equals c to the right side of x equals c. So we are tracing not from x equals c on the x-axis, but the point c to f of c along the graph. So for the first one, we are going to trace from the left of x equals -1. From x equals -1 padong sa x equals 1. So, ano x equals -1 ngari padong sa x equals 1. So what can you say kung atong i-draw ang graph gikan dire padong dire? So naabay part kaning lift ka sa imong pen. So what no? So what mo lift sa atong pen? So therefore we can say that f is continuous on the interval open interval -1 to 1. So if this is open, that means ang imong utlanan gikan sa -1 to +1 is or are not included. Okay, what about the second one? From -infinity to 0. So -infinity dire nga part padong sa 0, x equals 0. So if we are going to trace our graph using our pen, so naabay hollow, naabay bugto or wa. So what no? So therefore, same sa number 1, we can say that f is continuous on the interval -0 to -infinity. Okay, what about from 0 to +infinity? So starting from 0 to +infinity, so what can you say about your tracing of the graph? Okay, it's continuous gihapon, so thus we can say the function f is continuous on the interval 0 to +infinity. Okay, what about the second function h? So we are going to determine if the function f is continuous on first the interval from -1 to +1, and second the closed interval 0.5 to 2. So in the first one, -1 to +1. So if you are going to trace, pag abot nimo dire na hollow or nabugto ang imong line, ang imong graph ningabot dire. So since naamay hollow or naibangag here, so therefore we can say that h is not continuous on the open interval -1 to 1, or pwede po mo yung kag f is discontinuous on the interval -1 to 1. Okay, what about 0.5 to 2? So asa mang 0.5 nga x din he? So gikan dire padong sa 2 anhe. So from 0.5 to 2, diba? What can you say about your tracing? So notice that there is no part of the graph that is hollow, diba? Way bangag, smooth ka jo ingon nimo. There's no part of tracing your graph nga imong lift imong pen. So therefore, we can say that function h is continuous on the closed interval 0.5 to 2. Okay? And then function f is said to be continuous everywhere if f is continuous at every real number. In this case, we also say f is continuous on the set of real numbers. On open interval AB, if f is continuous at every point x in the open interval AB, it is said to be continuous on open half-closed interval on the left from A to B if f is continuous on the open interval AB and from the right of A. Then f is said to be continuous on the half-closed interval on the right from A to B if f is continuous on open interval and from the left of B at B. So notice that sa A continuous siya at every point you can say A to B. So this is open, that means ang A o B are not included. Ang utlanan naman sila. Diya open man. And then kaning close sa left where open sa right. So meaning ang A ra is included mana from the right at A. Ang diri na pod kay ang B naman pod na closed, meaning from the left at B. So way labot ang A. Then on closed interval A to B, if f is continuous on AB, close sa B, and on interval nga close ang A. So between ni sa A to B and including ang imong boundaries A and B. On open interval A to positive infinity, if f is continuous at all in values of x which are greater than A. And then ganipod, including A, to the right of A and including A. Then sa H, so B net to negative infinity, that means x is less than B. And on the open interval B to negative infinity, if f is continuous, B to negative infinity, and from the left at B, kay close man ang B. So manay mga meaning sa brackets o parentheses. Kung brackets gani, meaning close na siya. When we say close, that is part of the value. O open, that means way labot ang utlanan. So when we say open interval 2 to 3 open, that means ang value nga imong tan-awon is kung mao ni ang imong graph, mamaning 2 nimo dinhi, mao po ni imong 3. So kana din ha arang between way labot ang 2 3. So mingon ka og 2 then close ang 3, meaning 2 ug 3 ang imo rang tan-awon apil ang 3, y labot ang 2. So, between sa 2 ug 3, including 3. So, kung close na gani na 2 to 3, so that means ang imong tanahon, apil ang 2 ug ang 3 kay close interval man. That means equal to 2 ug equal to 3. Okay. Example number 3. We are going to determine the largest interval over which the function f of x equals the square root of x plus 2 is continuous. So, observe that f of x equals the square root of x plus 2 as the function values wherein x plus 2 must be greater than or equal to 0. That means x must be on the interval from -2 to positive infinity inclusive -2. So, nganong mang naingani man, because when x is less than -2, unsa may mahitabo, mahimong negative ne ang imong radicand. That means ma-define. No, for example, -3 plus 1 plus 2 equals -1 naman. So, meaning ma-define na imong function. So, define na siya kung maunay ang situation. Okay? So, if we are going to find f of c, so that means the limit of f of c. So, this becomes c plus 2, which is equal to the limit of the square root of x plus 2 as x approaches c. So, for example, kung ang imong c is 0, so ang imong f of 0 is equal to the square root of 2. So, imo pong itanahon ang limit of the square root of x plus 2 as x approaches 0. Ang imong value, square root of 2 gihapon sa imong f of x. So, meaning, nakuha na to ang conditions of continuity. No? So, therefore, we can say that for all values, we can say -2 to positive infinity where -2 is included. So, mahimo si siyang continuous. So, ang imong answer diha for all x, which is the value of for all x in the interval half closed on the left from -2 to positive infinity. The function f of x equals square root of x plus 2 is continuous. So, ma-discontinuous na siya sa part nga kadtong less than sa -2. Okay. Next is example number 4. We are to determine the largest interval over which h of x equals x over x squared minus 1 is continuous. So, let us observe that aning a situation, the rational function h of x equals x over x squared minus 1 is not defined at x equals Saman, x equals 1, x equals 1, og x equals negative 1. Because when we replace these values, 1 and negative 1, into x, the denominator becomes 0 and the function becomes undefined. And hence, the domain of h is the set of all real number such that, or except negative 1 and 1. So it is continuous on the set of real numbers wherein not equal to negative 1 and 1. Okay, so more atong answer. Interval nga everywhere siya continuous, but dapat it must not be equal to negative 1 and 1, and mao man po ni atong domain na wa siya labot, may labot sila negative 1 o 1. Okay, next is example number 5. Consider the function g of x. This is piecewise function. X if x is less than or equal to 0. Second one, we have 3 if x is between 0 and 1, wherein x is equal to 1. Then 3 minus x squared if x is between 1 to 4 and x equals 4, and x minus 3 if x is greater than 4. Is g continuous on the interval 0 to 1, where 1 is included on, and then on open interval 4 to positive infinity. Okay, so first, in the interval we have 0 to 1, wherein 1 is included. So first, atong i-test. Notice that not a constant value, no. When x is 0, g of 0 is 0. Then g of 0.5 is equal to between 3. G of 1 is also equal to 3. So notice that g of x takes the constant value, which is equal to 3 if ang imong value of x is on interval 0 to 1. Why labot ang 0? Kaya mag 0 ka, 0 man ang value. Okay? So when we test also the limit of f of x as x approaches c is equal to 3, which is the same as g of c nga excluded ang imong 0 value. So therefore we can say that from 0 to 1, wherein excluded ang 0, the values are of g of x are or is equal to 3 ra jud. So therefore we can say that g is continuous on the interval from 0 to 1. What about on 4 to positive infinity? So 4 to positive infinity, so kanina imong kuanon silang duha. So sa B, for G of 5, we have 5 minus 3 is equal to 2. No? And then, kung moingon po kag G of 4, we have 3 minus 4 squared equals 3 minus 16. Pero, notice that dire, open man na. So, though ang atong answer is negative 13, wa mag-equal. Pero this one, take note nga, wa ni si J lapot. Ang ato rang gitan-aw is 4 to positive infinity. That means greater than 4. So, ana nga part kani si Jawa, may possibility nga ma-undefine ang imong g of x kung atong i-substitute ang x with values greater than 4. So, that's why we can say that sure na continuous na pod for Lx in the domain or the interval 4 to positive infinity. Okay, so yun na ra atong lesson sa genre, no? Okay, so thank you for listening. So I do hope maminaw pa mo, mutanaw pa mo sa uban nga mga lesson na to. Topics for sa atong module or topic 4 natay 4.1, 4.2 and 4.3. So that would be all for 3.2. Thank you and God bless.